Satnam Shri Vaheguru Sahib Ji. Gobinde Mukande Udare Apare Hariyang Kariyang Nirname Akame Gobinde Mukande Udare Apare Hariyang Kariyang Nirname Akame Gobinde Mukande Udare Apare Hariyang Kariyang Nirname Akame Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. So in the last Adhyaae, we went through the description of what is detachment, virag, and why it is important step in the self-realization or journey of enlightenment, or to recognize your own Atam Sarup. It's important to understand that if we don't do any karma, if we don't do any action, then obviously life will not flow. So that's why Gurmat or enlightenment does not mean lack of action. And if one does some action, then naturally, the very natural state the mind is in attachment. So we do an action, and naturally, because the mind is still not still, it's still wandering around in different directions. That's why the mind ultimately becomes attached to the actions. And if we don't do any actions, then Raja Ashtavakra says, then obviously you can't just stay home and sit and not engage with anyone, because what are you going to do? Isn't that lack of an action itself? Let's say you leave everything and sit in a house, go to a jungle, go to a forest, wherever you think, so you don't do any action. That itself is an action. It's just towards a different direction. So one cannot escape the cycle of action. The truth is, one can actually escape after the self realization, which we will discuss further. But this is important that why detachment is a very crucial step, because only when we, from first of all, going when the senses are going towards outside world, it's important to bring them within yourself to recognize the mool, the very mool sarup of who you really are. And then it's important to see the same mool everywhere around you. So, in that way, the senses become still as well, or the mind becomes still. In the 11th Adhyaaye, now they will be discussing about Vivek. Now, this is a word we use as sometimes it's called as Vivek or Bibek. It's like having this intellect that knows what to do. It's like having, I like to call it, let's say, a perfect intellect, which has the answer to everything. And that's what Gurbani calls that, to have that sense of equilibrium within that sense, Sahaj, that you're no longer having this unclarity about things. So Vivek is that to recognize the oneness of the Akal Purakh, the consciousness, and to recognize that everywhere. Salok, ਹੋਂਦ ਅਤੇ ਅਣਹੋਂਦ ਦੇ ਬਦਲਾਵ ਸੁਭਾਵਿਕ ਹਨ. So whatever is in existence right now, that's naturally going to become extinct. One day it's going to happen. And that is, Subhavik means it's natural. It's not something to be scared of, to be afraid of. In fact, if you look around yourself, let's say whatever room you're sitting in right now, ask yourself maybe 100, 200 years ago, someone else was sitting in this room. And before that, maybe this room was not even built. It means there was a time when this room came into being, like this room was built, created, right? Same way, the body that we have now was created, and it's going to vanish one day. Now, this is a very profound truth, a beautiful truth, so that it helps us not being attached to it. ਇਹ ਨਿਸ਼ਚਾ ਰੱਖਣ ਵਾਲਾ ਪਰੇਸ਼ਾਨੀ ਅਤੇ ਕਲੇਸ਼ ਮੁਕਤ ਮਨੁੱਖ ਆਸਾਨੀ ਨਾਲ ਹੀ ਸ਼ਾਂਤੀ ਨੂੰ ਪ੍ਰਾਪਤ ਕਰ ਲੈਂਦਾ ਹੈ. Now, those manuk, those human beings, call them Mahapurkh, enlightened, Sant, Sadhu. These are different names given to them. Those who have this firm understanding. Nishcha means that firm understanding that no longer wavers. Now, this is an understanding that they have completely understood that what's present today, it's not going to be present tomorrow. So in that, they experience profound space within them. They experience this profound peace within them. So they're no longer chasing peace, they naturally become liberated. And that's what liberation really is, that knowing the fact. So these are the very beautiful facts that we are discussing today, from our childhood to up to the body that we have today and the body that we're going to have in the old age. We will notice that things are going to change, and that's a very natural course of creation, life, Akal Purakh itself. Slok. ਇੱਥੇ ਈਸ਼ਵਰ ਹੀ ਸਭ ਦਾ ਨਿਰਮਾਣ ਕਰਨ ਵਾਲਾ ਹੈ, ਹੋਰ ਕੋਈ ਨਹੀਂ। ਇਸ ਨਿਸ਼ਚੇ ਵਾਲਾ ਸ਼ਾਂਤ ਵਿਅਕਤੀ ਜਿਸ ਦੀਆਂ ਸਾਰੀਆਂ ਇੱਛਾਵਾਂ ਅੰਦਰ ਹੀ ਸਮਾਪਤ ਹੋ ਗਈਆਂ ਹਨ. So it's a realization of that the creation created itself, and a word is given to that creation as Ishwar. In ancient Indian terminology, we use the word Ishwar. Ishwar is not necessarily just a person sitting in a cloud. These are the stories that have been given to us so we can actually understand. Just like how when we try to understand something, or you want to make a child understand something, we give them a bit of analogies, different, draw a sketch, show them cartoons to make them understand the process. Same way, the Ishwar here refers to the creation itself, that the very nature of creation is to create. So, what's happening here? The person who knows this, again, the word nishchay is used. Nishchay, as we discussed, means a firm understanding that this is just a creation playing its role. And in that firm understanding, that person remains desireless. Now, it's difficult to go to the desireless state, but day and day, over years, many years, enlightened beings have taken a form to teach us that yes, it is possible to reach a desireless state. You might think it's not possible, but let us show you. Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj, through his entire life, has shown that you can reach this state. And it's not only for guru of certain religion, it's not born to certain body, it's available to every human being. So it's not that only someone who wears certain clothes will have this. It's a state that's very much present within yourself, and that is the state of Atam Avastha. So in that state, the person who has recognized that, the mind of that person does not waver, and they remain detached throughout. एको करता जिन जग किया, एको करता अवर न कोई, उस एक तो सिवा होर कोई करता नहीं. So in that understanding that it's the one creation that's actually creating itself and then preserving itself, and then destruction is happening as well. Within the body too, we know that the cells are formed, they are sustained, and then they get destroyed. Now, I was watching this documentary about gut health, And it was explained beautifully there that how the process of digestion is actually happening because of the microbacteria that's present in the stomach. Now, if we don't have that, then obviously we experience stomach discomfort or different diseases. That's why they say the gut health is related to the brain. To eat healthy meals so that the bacteria in the stomach gets those nutritions. Now, in that very simple process, what it explains is that we think we are doing, obviously, we're not doing the digestion. What's happening? Those microbes have been given that duty. They are doing that functioning and they digest the food and they spread that, give that food. From there, the blood takes the food particles or nutrition from the food and gives to the body. So, where is this me doing anything? The very misunderstanding that I'm actually doing is the cause of the suffering. And that's why it's important. That's why it's called spirituality or adhyatam or all these different words. That's why it's called a practice, because it's the practice that gives birth to this realization. Without practice, we cannot have this realization. So it's every next time, maybe when you have a meal, just take a pause and ask yourself, it's the microbes doing the job. I'm not actually doing anything in there. And in there, experience that freedom within yourself too. And the same thing, Maharaj in Gurbani uses different words to explain those concepts. Salok, ਜੋ ਇਸ ਨਿਸ਼ਚੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਸਥਿਤ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਬਿਪਤਾ ਅਤੇ ਸੁਖ ਆਰਾਮ ਸਮੇਂ ਉੱਤੇ ਕਰਮਾਂ ਅਨੁਸਾਰ ਆਉਂਦੇ ਹਨ, ਉਹ ਸਦਾ ਅਸ ਸੰਤੁਸ਼ਟ ਉਹ ਸਦਾ ਸੰਤੁਸ਼ਟ ਅਤੇ ਇੰਦਰੀ ਜਿਤ ਵਿਅਕਤੀ ਨਾ ਕੋਈ ਇੱਛਾ ਕਰਦਾ ਹੈ ਨਾ ਚਿੰਤਾ ਕਰਦਾ ਹੈ. And those beings who have those sadhujan, those enlightened beings who have this again firm understanding, and they are remaining still in the Atam state, they know this very well, that sukha, which is the happiness or the pleasure, it depends on time. And they are the result of the actions that we did in the past. Now, this is something in day-to-day life, we may not want to acknowledge it, but Gurbani constantly reminds about this. There are so many panktiyan about it, and even this Granth is talking about the same thing, that can you, for a few minutes out of your day, take a pause and actually ask yourself the actions that happened that you took maybe 5 years ago, maybe 4 years ago, or in the past, the very outcome of those actions is literally the result that you're facing today. Now, let's say if your life is going great, then obviously you will feel that, oh, you know what, actually, I took some great actions. That's so true. But let's say we made some bad decisions. We all do that. That's why in Gurbani says, whatever happened, let go of that guilt. Let go of that regret that I wish I could have done things differently. The truth is, you exactly did what was meant to happen according to your understanding. So there is no point of even blaming yourself or blaming anyone. So those enlightened beings know that whatever the actions happened in the past, the result that I'm facing today is just the consequence of that. So whatever we do today, that implies as well. Let's say you're eating healthy, having a balanced lifestyle, you're walking, you're keeping the body in motion, you're looking after your mental well-being too. These are the things we have the power to actually have control over. But how do we have to have a control over? By remaining detached at the same time. It's a formula. I like to see it as a formula in my life, that these are the formula that I've been applying as well. That whatever I'm doing today, tomorrow it's gonna result into that. And in that understanding, those enlightened beings, they remain satisfied. So within themselves, they have absolute no desires left. But whatever the actions they have done in the past or the actions that happened through the body, they are just simply observing it, that this is what I did, this is what's going to happen tomorrow, and I'm just the observer, so I'm not getting attached to that. And in that way, it gives birth to satisfaction, a complete satisfaction. So that's what Gurbani calls it, the Purva Janam, the actions that happened in our past lives. Now, yes, we sometimes might not believe in the past life and all, but past life doesn't necessarily mean that before you were born. The past life, let's say you're a 20-year-old. So your past life is that 20, the years leading up to the 20 years. Whatever you did in that, whatever happened, is going to unfold the rest of the 10 years, let's say. That's why it says, learn to, Gurbani says, don't do this blame game. It's so easy to blame others. That's why this Gurmat is not easy to. That's why over and over Maharaj says, don't think it's going to be an easy journey. Okay, don't think you don't have to do anything. You don't have to do the sadhana, the practice. It's so easy to blame others, the outer circumstances. But very rarely, the important thing here is to acknowledge this, have this imandari, honesty within yourself, that actually I did this, it happened. I would like to say that rather than doing that, I did this, let's just say that something happened. And whatever intellect I was given in that moment, the intellect itself took the action. And then the result that's happening now, I'm just having to observe that. That's how, it's encouraged to practice in that way. So Gurbani says, whatever you will plant, whatever you will sow, you will just have to experience it. It's not a it's not a scary thing. At the same time, it might sound scary, but at the same time, it means you have the power. You actually have the power to experience what you want to experience. But that's not the Puran enlightenment then. The real concept of enlightenment or recognizing Atam Sarup is to reach a state within yourself where you don't want to experience anything, nor you want to not experience anything. So, a simple way is when your mind completely settles down in the Atam Sarup, where the mind no longer says, I want to experience this or I don't want to experience this. That's the avastha, the state which is called as sahaj. So, naturally, it's happening. ਸ਼ਲੋਕ ਇਸ ਨਿਸ਼ਚੇ ਵਾਲਾ ਕਿ ਸੁਖ ਦੁੱਖ ਅਤੇ ਜਨਮ ਮ੍ਰਿਤਯੂ ਪ੍ਰਾਰਬਧ ਅਨੁਸਾਰ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਹਨ ਆਪ ਨਿਰਜਤਨ ਰਹਿ ਕੇ ਇਹ ਵੇਖਣ ਵਾਲਾ ਕਿ ਕਰਮ ਆਪਣੇ ਆਪ ਸਿੱਧ ਹੋ ਰਹੇ ਹਨ ਸੋ Ashtavakra ji explains that those who have this firm understanding now that the sukh, the pain, pleasure are the two sides of the same coin. And now they know the body was created, it's going to dissolve itself, it's going to get destroyed. And they become completely reaching a state of effortless in the Atam Avastha as well. And very clearly says they become a Vekhanwala, means they become the observer of it. And they know that the actions are happening on its own. We think we are actually the doer. That's what the problem is. But Gurbani Mahapurukhs constantly say you're not the doer. That's your illusion. That's your delusion you're living with. But because in our everyday life, nobody is talking about this, it's becoming normalized. We use these languages. Now it's not about not using the language. It doesn't mean tomorrow after this class or something you're going to start saying to people that I'm not the doer. It's about practicing within yourself. And how to understand this? Let's take an example that, let's say, you are sensing that you're feeling thirsty. So what the next step is going to be, you're going to grab glass of water and you're going to quench the thirst. That process, Gurbani or this Granth is talking, that's the creation's intelligence doing it. You are not doing it. That's how the body was formed. There is an intelligence within you that knows how to operate. But the moment when you think you know better than that intelligence, you struggle. And that's where the surrendering happens. That's why we say surrender. Surrender to what? To this intelligence that's literally operating the whole universes. It knows how to operate this body too. It gives you the signal. If you feel full, stop. It, you know how when we have our food, we feel I'm feeling full, but the mind says no, keep on eating, keep on indulging. It's a nice meal. But the truth is, your body will signal you that I'm feeling full. That's it. Stop. That's exactly what Maharaj is explaining here. The intelligence that knows what to do exactly at the right time. But because we want the life to unfold according to our desires, our expectations, we suffer because it's not happening according to that. But there is a profound freedom in this to let life unfold the way it's supposed to and still stir it in a way, give it a gentle stir throughout. It's like you're feeling thirsty, you obviously go and quench your thirst. But imagine sitting there saying, "No, come on, God, you gotta, quench my thirst." That's not how it happens. So that's why it's a beautiful. Um, I think in a one culture is called yin and yang. I don't know the word, but something like that. They say like that's how it operates. And the same way things happen through the body as well. And in that way, those enlightened beings, they have become so firm in that understanding that they're not even thinking about it anymore. The understanding, because Guru has given them his understanding. The Guru gave the understanding of Gyan, and then it's happening so naturally that they're not even thinking about it. So in that way, those enlightened beings, they are doing the actions, but they don't become attached to them. They just observe that it's happening through the body. ਸਲੋਕ ਇਸ ਸੰਸਾਰ ਵਿੱਚ ਚਿੰਤਾ ਕਾਰਨ ਦੁੱਖ ਪੈਦਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ. And what's the cause of the worry, the constant chinta? Chinta is a word used, let's say a thought comes, okay? Uh, maybe, after the class, sit within yourself and practice. And if you can observe one thought, let's say a thought comes, I want to buy this thing. So very simple, realistic example, or I, want to have this thing. So a thought comes, and then you will notice the mind will constantly repeating that thought. How do I do this? What's going to happen? Do I do this or do I do that? Whom do I talk to? You will notice this constant repetition is a story has been created there. It's getting formed there. Maharaj calls this as chintan, that you're constantly thinking about something, and that's the reason of your dukh. The reason of your dukh is because the mind is not still now. And because you don't know that you're not the mind, you think you are that thought, you have naturally attached yourself to the thought. This doesn't mean to sit within yourself 24/7 and then constantly keep observing the mind and controlling it as if you're going to make it stop. That's why Gurbani gave a formula that wherever the mind goes, put Paramatma in front of it. Put Akal Purakh, whoever you resonate with. It doesn't have to be the same word. It could be any word that resonates with you. Maharaj has given so many shabad to do abhyas of. Wherever, let's say, the mind goes in that thing, the next house, the next car, the job, the partner, anything, put Akal Purakh in there. That's how the mind is trained. Okay, the thought is going there. Maharaj, that's you as well. Because the truth is that is Paramatma itself, even if we don't know. So, Maharaj, that thought is you as well. And you will notice the thought will dissolve. Naturally, the mind gets trained in that way. किसे होर कारण नहीं. So this is completely the truth that the cause of the dukh that we experience is the chintan, the constant overthinking that's happening. And that's one reason why we go into depression, we feeling anxious, we want to go into a deep sleep, or the suicidal ideation occurs from there because we want this mind to stop thinking. ਇਸ ਨਿਸ਼ਚੇ ਵਾਲਾ ਮਨੁੱਖ ਚਿੰਤਾ ਮੁਕਤ ਸੁਖੀ ਸ਼ਾਂਤ ਅਤੇ ਹਰ ਥਾਂ ਇੱਛਾ ਮੁਕਤ ਰਹਿੰਦਾ ਹੈ. And the person who has this firm understanding becomes remains free all the time. They are in a state of peace constantly, while whether they are in the state of jagrat, while they are talking to people, while their body is they are looking at the world. If they are in a dream state or in deep sleep too, they are still in that same the peace that someone experiences in deep sleep, these enlightened beings experiencing while they are awake too. And shant means they are still. Within themselves, there is this constant stillness they are in. And hartha ichha mukta means in every state, they are in a desireless state. Whatever is happening in front of them, they know now, they have understood that it's just the result of the past actions. So they become in a desireless state because then they have realized their Atam Sarup. ਸਲੋਕ ਜਿਸ ਨੂੰ ਇਹ ਨਿਸ਼ਚਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਮੈਂ ਦੇਹ ਨਹੀਂ ਨਾ ਹੀ ਦੇਹ ਮੇਰੀ ਹੈ ਮੈਂ ਚੇਤਨ ਬੋਧ ਰੂਪ ਹਾਂ ਉਹ ਜੀਵਨ ਮੁਕਤ ਵਿਅਕਤੀ ਕਿਤੇ ਕੀਤੇ ਹੋਏ ਜਾਂ ਨਾ ਕੀਤੇ ਹੋਏ ਨੂੰ ਚੇਤੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਰੱਖਦਾ ਕਰਦਾ. And those Mahapurkhs who have this firm understanding that I'm not this body, nor this body belongs to me. It's just another creation that's happening in this cosmo consciousness. Just like how one body is like, those the example of the mala that we look at the thread is going through all the beads, and those beads are like the body, right? So this consciousness is that thread, is that um saga, the thread, the string that's going through that. And it's the same. So those enlightened beings, they know that I am that awareness, and the body is not mine, nor I'm attached to it. So in that state, they become Jivan Mukta. Jivan Mukta state is that where they are still in their own Atam Sarup, and they if the thought comes, they're not attached to it. If anything, if someone praises them, they are not affected by it. If someone insults them, they are not affected by it. So in it, they remain in a state of a very neutral state. And that state doesn't mean they are dead. It's opposite actually. They are very much alive. They are full of wisdom, full of life within them, because now they have connected to something within themselves. They have realized this awareness that is present everywhere. And what happens with that as well? There is no void as well. There is no missing puzzle anymore. There is no there is complete fullness of circle, just like a circle is complete. So a circle wouldn't feel any void in it because it knows how complete it is. In the same way, we, over and over, we come across these kathas, these stories of even Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj, where I think it was his mother who gave him one bangle, and she noticed that, that the one bangle is missing. So she asked, "Where is the other bangle?" And he throws it in the river and says, "You know what? It's there." Like that's the sense of freedom. But a person like me would think so many times, I'll be like, "No, should I throw this? It's important piece of gold." But those enlightened beings, they know that this is so temporary, so they don't get attached to it. And why? Now, this doesn't mean that you start doing it in life, okay? This is a state of explaining that yes, it is possible. When the time to leave the body will come, and the truth is, Sangaji, it's going to happen. Whether we like it, whether we accept it or not, it's going to happen. So, why not use this precious time to understand that, to know that something within us that does not die and become liberated right now? Because there is no liberation after once the body dies. There is no such thing. Those are just the stories created by in agyanta, in the lack of knowledge. So, in that way, those enlightened beings remain detached within themselves and they don't ponder over things that, oh, I wish I did things differently, or I wish, or I'm going to do this differently. Their very nature has become of um, parupakari. They don't even think about doing wrong with anyone because whom will they really do wrong? Because everywhere they go, they are seeing themselves, reflection of their own Atam Sarup. And the truth is, they genuinely cannot do anyone's wish bad upon anyone in that state. ਸਲੋਕ ਬ੍ਰਹਮ ਤੋਂ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਤੀਲੇ ਤੱਕ ਮੈਂ ਹੀ ਹਾਂ ਇਸ ਨਿਸ਼ਚੇ ਵਾਲਾ ਵਿਕਲਪ ਰਹਿਤ ਪਵਿੱਤਰ ਸ਼ਾਂਤ ਅਤੇ ਪ੍ਰਾਪਤ ਅਪ੍ਰਾਪਤ ਬਾਰੇ ਸੋਚ ਮੁਕਤ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ Now, this is the state of a Brahmagyani that Maharaj is explaining here, that those who have first of all realized their Atam Sarup within themselves, in that firm understanding, when they have become still in their Atam state, they no longer have these thoughts about that whether I'm gonna do this or I'm not gonna do this. They are going with the flow of life because they know life is happening within them. So from Brahm, as in from Brahma Lok, from the utmost desire to a desire of having a strain of grass, they know that it's actually me, the awareness that's present in that. So, as we were talking before, they become complete within themselves. And in that Puran being complete within themselves, they become pure. They remain as pure being. And they remain shant, which is they remain within themselves in a state of peace. Outwardly, they can still be using different words. They might be expressing anger too when it's required because they know how this play works. So they might say things to those around for their betterment, even if it comes out as harsh truth, but they are not scared to say that. And in that way, within themselves as well, however, they are at peace. And prapt aprapt bare soch mukt. Prapt means that I've got this. I've got this house. I've got this partner. I've got this job. I've got this career. All the things that we can list off, they don't think about it. They are literally free within themselves. Or that this is missing. If let's say there is another job, you say whatever is happening, they are completely satisfied in that. That satisfaction will is going to give birth to that they will never have anything missing in their life. So that naturally the creation serves them with that. They will never, that's why in all the pagats, all the mahapuruks, they never had any they never lacked anything in their life. And even if they were asking for something, they were asking from within their Atam Sarup. Here we can take an example of Chaupai Sahib. Maharaj says, Hamri karo haath der acha, Puran hoye chit ki ichha, Tav charanan man rahe hamara. Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj is doing ardas to his own Atam Sarup, not someone outside somewhere. He's talking, it's like mind talking to his own Atam Sarup that give me this wish or this blessing that tav charnan man rahe hamara. He's not asking for any worldly things. He didn't say, give long life to my kids, don't give me battles and all that. He said, give me that may I always remain in my own Atam Sarup, that may my mind get dissolves into my own Atam Sarup. Tav Charandan means Tav here is talking to the supreme consciousness, and there is no difference between the individual and supreme consciousness. ਸਲੋਕ ਇਸ ਨਿਸ਼ਚੇ ਵਾਲਾ ਕਿ ਅਨੇਕ ਅਚੰਭਿਆਂ ਭਰਿਆ ਇਹ ਸੰਸਾਰ ਹੈ ਹੀ ਨਹੀਂ, ਵਾਸ਼ਨਾ ਰਹਿਤ ਅਤੇ ਬੋਧ ਮਾਤਰ ਰਹਿ ਕੇ ਸ਼ਾਂਤ ਵਿਚਰਦਾ ਹੈ, ਜਿਵੇਂ ਕਿ ਕੁਝ ਹੈ ਹੀ ਨਹੀਂ. For those enlightened beings, Mahapurukhs, because they have understood the tat, the essence of life, they remain desireless. Plus, they know that this world is only happening a dream in the space. So just in the space element, now we look at that when there is smoke happening in the sky. Now when we understand that, it might look like that smoke is touching the sky, but is it really touching the sky though? Now we know that the sky is so away from the smoke, but it appears like that. Same way the Mahapurukhs know that this world is only happening, imagining in their consciousness, in their Atam Sarup, and they are this awareness that's just noticing that. This awareness does not have a desire. It's the mind that has the desires, because the mind still thinks that it needs something to be fulfilled. But the truth is, Gurbani, those Mahapurukhs over and over explain that no one has conquered these desires without the self realization. The moment you will realize your Sarup and you start residing in that Sarup, you won't even have to fight these desires anymore. You will naturally reach a uh, state of without desires. And Gurbani says that the whole world is actually just burning in these desires, but nobody is talking about this. Nobody is trying to wake them up that understand who you are, realize who you are, so you can actually experience this profound peace within yourself. So, Maharaj Kirpa, we will take a Vishram here. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.